we've discussed this topic a bunch over the last years, especially since the rise of the Rippaverse and the success and just how so many artists are economically illiterate. They don't really know what it is they're talking about, let alone what it is that they're doing. But the more they look at something or act as if something nefarious is going on with this company, the more you realize how economically illiterate they actually are. And then it starts to make sense that so many people within art and entertainment industries are broke, particularly the creatives. They have no money, begging for their to get paid for a commission and eating their cat's food because they ain't getting paid. So there was a post that I made. Very simple. Again, these are very simple posts that get people irate. So this guy says, for example, customers want product. Well, this is what I said. I said, customers want product. You sell customers product with respect. Customers voluntarily exchange money for product. It's not rocket science. Respect your customers, give them what they want, and they'll make you rich. It's a very simple thing. But apparently that is controversial. So this is what this guy says. So where does artistic expression fit in giving customers your product? And then this next point is the hilarious point. Give the customers what they want doesn't sound like artistic expression. It sounds like ticking off boxes. These guys are so caught up in basically, and it. Let me tell you this. This is why so much material feels like a free-for-all in fan fiction. Because these people look at creativity. You've heard me say this a lot. They look at creativity as if it's a free-for-all and being able to do whatever it is that you want. And that's where artists that aren't businessmen end up making the mistake in that they assume that, well, I just want to be able to do whatever I want to do as a complete free-for-all and put it pen to pad or draw or whatever, and then I want to be paid for it. Like, well, maybe there's no demand for what it is that you're trying to put out, right? Now, the ticking boxes often actually comes from the people that are doing material for folks that aren't actually a paying audience, okay? But you have to have some level of, you're selling a product, okay? Right? You're not owed, this is what so many artists unfortunately believe, that they're owed pay. Just because they did something, well, I put my labor towards it and therefore people should pay for it. That's not how it works. Right? You have to make something that people want, dude. So the whole box checking happens to be a projection. But let's speak about this a little bit more in detail. Creativity, as I've said many times, is being able to operate within certain confines and constraints and coming up with something fresh, right? So you don't have to sacrifice or just completely eliminate artistic freedom. In fact, you have to have more artistic, creative freedom in order to make something that is fulfilling while also giving customers what it is that they want. I would say, like, for example, with Isom and Yaira, they were exactly that, right? You got Isom, for example. He is one of the characters that he was basically the first character that I created, and I was the one that personally designed his suit. Okay? And I wanted his suit to be something very simple, right? I wanted it to be reminiscent of maybe some things that, if you are a longtime comic book fan, you'll look at that and you'll say, that takes me back in some way. It's original, but it has some level of familiarity. That's why his design is simple. Also for merchandise and also drawing purposes, we made it simple for that reason. The same can be said, or a similar thing can be said for Yaira. Though they have two design approaches, right? Hers is a little more intricate in terms of her design in comparison to Isom, but I knew that I could get this character to stick. So people paid for it. Her poster actually outsold Isom's poster, right? So it was something that I knew that, okay, I could come up with this. Me and Marcos, of course, tag team on Yaira, and I knew that I could be creative and give people something that they wanted. That's what creativity is. Creativity is not, and it's ironic because, it's coming from a guy who he does these like weird like comics where he's just basically, he's a leftist, so he's just like making fun of who people he deem as right wingers, and he does all this stuff. It's kind of weird, but that's what he does. So he can't really see the art style of things. and how that plays into the business, because often these guys are one or the other. They are artists that aren't business folk, or they're business folk that aren't art. They don't understand art. So this is why it's important to get someone next to you that you can trust, that knows if you are, let's say, deficient in one area. Teaming up with people that know that aspect is very important. Or you're like me and you understand business. You're in the business of making money while also being a creative. But you can have expression. Like this was so fulfilling. I remember when I was writing I Someone, and the days that I was spending when I was just like head down, just writing this nonstop, day to day. This was something that was so important for me, and it was fulfilling at the time because I was doing something that I felt good doing, and I knew I could be proud of doing. But I also understand that I am selling to customers, okay? It does me absolutely no good. Don't sell it. If you are just trying to do some free-for-all creative that you think that you're being creative artist, so you just do something goofy even though nobody wants it. It's so niche, nobody wants it. That's okay. Do that. But don't expect people to pay for it. Okay? If you want to be successful, you have to give people what it is that they want. That can be said for any industry, but the art industry is a little different because people think, often a lot of them are leftists, so they think that they should get something even though they're not actually giving material to people that want to be, that are, let's say, paying customers. That's what it is that I do. I want to make sure that I'm giving people what it is that they want. And the minute that I stop doing that is the minute that this company goes out of business. Simple. You got to give people what it is they want. But I reject this idea that you can't have artistic, and I have to say that slowly because I don't want people thinking I'm saying autistic. But if you want that sort of that expression from the art perspective, you can still do that and make money. I reject the moronic idea that you have to do one or the other. But because people are economically illiterate, broke sons of bitches, they look at what it is that we're doing as if there's something wrong with it. So they'll say something like, well, he cares about money. Like, yeah, I do care about money. I'm a businessman. I do. You might not care about money, but that's precisely the problem with the industry right now, is that people don't care about money. They don't care about money enough to give people what it is they want. They're arrogant. They're self-righteous. They're self-important. So they feel like you have to live up to this. And this is what a lot of writers make the mistake of. They're not writing for an actual paying audience. They're like, hey, are you good enough to even buy my stuff? Type of stuff, right? Whereas that's not my approach. I understand that my customers are the greatest customers in the world. But if I don't give them what it is that they want, I don't feel the demand, I don't get paid. It's simple as that. It's as organic as it's ever going to be. And I would have, if I can suggest anything to aspiring artists and creatives out there, artistic and creative freedom is not just a fucking free for all. You better well have a specific audience in mind that you are. It doesn't have to be the biggest, but it better be an audience that you can identify, that is actually real, not made up in your head, but actually real, if you expect to live off of your art. Wherever you're viewing the content, I appreciate you. If you enjoyed it, you may be interested in my comic book company, Rippaverse Comics. Our first book and campaign, I Some #1, brought in $3.7 million with tens of thousands of satisfied customers. Visit Rippaverse.com to check out our store and stay up to date with the latest campaigns from one of the hottest new comic book companies. Also, my first big step towards a parallel economy was the development of my personal website, ericdjuly.com. This entirely replaced my Patreon. Now, if you enjoy this content, please consider becoming a member over at the website. We have an ever-expanding list of perks for various membership tiers, a forum, and a phone app. Some of these perks will even benefit you if you're fans of the Rippaverse. Anyway, I appreciate you so much for being a supporter and or customer. I even got a little love for my haters.